Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Karlos Boghosian, President of the Federation of Chiropractic Licensing Boards. Today, we're going to be talking about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on continuing education programs. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the FCLB's PACE program, which stands for Providers of Approved Continuing Education. I'm super excited to have a very special guest joining us today. If you're involved in chiropractic regulation, you know the name, Dr. Carol Winkler. Dr. Winkler is the current Vice President of the Federation of Chiropractic Licensing Boards. She graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic in 1987, has been practicing in Bismarck, North Dakota since 1988. In fact, she served on North Dakota Board of Chiropractic Examiners from 2003 through 2013 for 10 years. And 5 out of those 10 years, she served as the president of the board. She was awarded as the Chiropractor of the Year by the North Dakota Chiropractic Association, and she's been involved in the Federation since 2014 at various leadership levels. She served as the District Director, as Board Chair, as Treasurer, and now our current Vice President. And I can tell you that this commitment to service and passion for the profession and public protection runs deep in her family. In fact, her father, who just recently passed away, served as the president of the Federation in the 1990s. Her husband, Dr. Cameron, is a chiropractor, and she has many uncles who are chiropractors. I can tell you in the past 1 year, I've had the opportunity and blessing to work really closely with her. We've traveled together, we broke bread together, and besides this long list of accolades, I can tell you that's probably what's most important to her is being a caring doctor to her patient, to be a really caring wife to her husband, and an amazing and nurturing and loving mother to her 3 awesome children. Dr. Winkler, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boghosian. It's great to be here.
Now, Dr. Winkler, tell us, how did you get involved in chiropractic, and how did you get involved in chiropractic regulation?
Well, as everybody can tell by what you just introduced me as, it really is all about family, and it's all about the pieces of the puzzle falling together. So, as you said, I was blessed to grow up in a chiropractic family. I had numerous uncles, and my dad was a chiropractor, so we sort of lived the chiropractic lifestyle. And my cousins and I would hear discussions about chiropractic growing up, even as young kids. But as I got older and got looking into college, I still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to be in healthcare somehow. So my undergraduate degrees and kind of path of study were healthcare related in that way. But it wasn't until I ended up in chiropractic school that I really loved what I was doing. And sometimes I think when you watch your parent all the time, you're not sure if you always want to follow that model. But once I got into school, I loved it. And what was interesting about that is then my dad and my uncle, my one particular uncle, Dr. Carol Winkler, was involved in association or the profession kinds of matters, and my dad in regulation, and they would come and visit when I was in chiropractic school. And then I would really hear about the discussions about the profession and about what they were each involved in. And they were lengthy discussions, and I didn't always get it, but I was able to sort of rub shoulders with the leaders at the time. And even at that, I wasn't sure I wanted to be involved there because it seemed as though they put a lot of passion, a lot of work, a lot of time into what they were doing. And I wasn't sure, honestly, that they were making headway. And you can think back into the 80s, they were involved in a lot, and it was slow moving. Once I got out of chiropractic school, I was going to come to North Dakota, and I was going to work with my father for a year. And as God had planned it, that obviously has turned into 30 years now. And I've been blessed to be able to work with him until he retired, and then also work with my husband. But it wasn't until in my middle practice time, I was appointed to the North Dakota Board of Chiropractic Examiners. And that's really where, as I said, those pieces began to fall together. I really thrived in working for public protection, and I thrived in that regulatory environment. And I really liked it, and it seemed to like me back, and it was really a good fit. And at that point then, I felt like, okay, the background and kind of the stories that I heard growing up were beginning to fall into place for me. And as you said, we have 3 children, and I wasn't really committed to the Federation until they got to be a little bit older. And I do have to give a shout out to my husband, who has made sure that I could do this kind of work by juggling home and juggling work for me. So I'm super appreciative of that. And once I get into the Federation and sort of the levels of leadership there, I've been able to work with awesome people, and I've been so happy to serve at this level.
Well, we're happy that you're serving at this level. You know, speaking of stories, this past weekend was Memorial Day weekend. I was reflecting on one of the stories that you shared with me about your father, about how when he graduated from chiropractic college, he got drafted to serve during the Korean conflict, and he started adjusting his fellow airmen behind closed doors. Can you tell us that story? It's really inspiring, and it's a great story.
Yes, it is. And it is timely with Memorial Day. My dad did graduate right at the time of the Korean conflict. So he no more than got out of school and was drafted. And when, of course, there were not chiropractors in the Army, or he was in the Air Force, in any armed services at the time. And you can think this was the early 1950s. So as a profession, we were not hardly even on the scene. But as he was drafted, he was put into the medic corps, they called it, and basically put in like the PT corps, I think is what they would call it, or the orthopedic surgeon really was the boss of the area. And as the fellow airmen needed help, he began to see that there was really a fit for chiropractic, and so began actually adjusting people behind the door, and it worked. And so the boss, the orthopedic surgeon, called him to his office and had him sit down, and he thought he was in trouble. And he said to him, you know, I don't know really what you're doing exactly, and I don't know anything about chiropractic, but the airmen are happy and what you're doing is working, so keep on doing what you're doing and let him go. And as long as he didn't, kind of cause a fuss, he was able to do that. And my dad actually then was able to build a practice in Casablanca, of all places, and came out of the Army. The big story is came out of not the Army, the Air Force, really as a seasoned chiropractor. He gained confidence, he had a patient base, and was able to enter into private practice in a way that not many were.
I love it. I love it. You know, when you think back about people like your father or the men and women of licensing boards, think about it, their jobs were never easy. Their intention and dedications were always challenged. They didn't have the resources that you and I have here today. They didn't have this video conferencing. They didn't have email or iPhones. Yet with strained resources, they never forgot the reason for being. And it's because of their commitment, their passion to the profession and public protection that chiropractic gained licensure state by lonely state, starting with Kansas in 1913 and finally Louisiana being the last one in 1974. And again, we're so fortunate and so blessed to have people like your father and yourself serving at this level. Now, Dr. Winkler, let's get into it. Let's talk about our programs at the FCLB. As you know, we have many programs. They're all very impactful. But you and I both could agree on that our PACE program is probably one of the most impactful programs that we have at the Federation. You see, we entrust the accrediting agencies to fulfill the federal regulatory requirements for a DCP program. But once we graduate from chiropractic college, there is no control over that. And that's where the PACE comes in to guarantee quality continuing education. I'd like to share with us the history of PACE, how it came about, and where do we stand with it right now?
Thank you. I'd love to do that. The PACE program is something that the Federation is very, very proud of, and it evolved really over a number of years. It began about 20 years ago just as a little task committee that was putting together something that they could do that would service member boards. And we have to remember back in the day, as you just alluded to, every single jurisdiction had to vet every single continuing education provider that a licensee may have taken a course from to see whether or not it met their criteria. Some of those were statutorily accepted at the time, like maybe they were approved by a CCE accredited institution, but others, and there were many, had to be vetted individually by the state licensing board. So in addition to sort of looking to solve this problem, that committee was looking to service member boards. What could we do that would service member boards? And this PACE program has evolved over time. And I right now just need to give a shout out to those that have come before me. My part of PACE, as you heard, I haven't been involved all that long, has been more in this maturing process of PACE. And by that I mean getting it into a program that is absolutely usable by both licensees and by jurisdictions. But there were many leaders that came before me that have brought it to that place, and I just have to give a shout out to both the staff and to them for their hard work, bringing PACE to where it is. And the program that we have today for PACE really is a vetting program for continuing education courses that both the licensees can depend upon and any jurisdiction can depend upon in terms of the process that those individual instructors or organizations have gone through to become PACE approved. That means that it will meet their standards.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're definitely truly grateful to those forward-thinking leaders who came before us to think about this innovative way of doing this continuing education program that is really guaranteeing quality also. But let me ask you this, how many jurisdictions are currently PACE approved within the United States?
Yeah, currently 39 jurisdictions utilize either all or part of PACE. And when I say part, there are some jurisdictions that don't automatically pre-approve courses, so they use what we call PACE pre-check. There are 9 of those. The others accept all PACE provider or PACE approved courses. And then in addition, we have 70 continuing education providers that are PACE approved. So that encompasses many things like colleges, state associations, individual continuing education vendors, the VA, insurance companies, and others. So there are many courses and many topics for licensees to choose from when they're looking for continuing education products.
So you see, one of the benefits of the PACE program is that we qualify the instructor, not necessarily the course they're teaching. You see, if you're a qualified instructor, it doesn't matter if you're teaching anatomy, physiology, or spinal adjusting. So tell me about the process of becoming a PACE-approved provider.
Well, the process really starts with an application process, like many things. And the best way to do that would be to go to our FCLB homepage, which is www.fclb.org. And if you look on the left column as that page comes up, you can click right on PACE. That's going to bring up our PACE homepage. And there, across the top banner on the right, it says CE providers. If you click on that, there will be a drop-down menu and it will say application process. And that's really where that process starts.
Once they apply, so what happens? Where does the application go? Where are the steps?
Yes, there are committees that are set aside in PACE that go through and vet all of the requirements needed to become PACE approved. And as that product moves through the process, it eventually ends up at the board of directors level. And the board of directors then individually review the information before them and vote on whether this applicant can become PACE approved.
And my understanding is there's about 100 criteria that the committee looks for before they even forward that to the board of directors. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's a very, very rigorous process, and that's what assures quality for both our licensees and for our state jurisdictions.
Another one of the benefits of PACE program is our record-keeping process, which is really high-tech. Mm-hmm. You and I hear this sometimes from state associations that a licensee took a CE course and calls them 2 or 3 years later asking for a certificate. But with a PACE program, we have a very high-tech process that if anyone has ever taken any PACE courses, they can call us or email us. We're happy to forward the certificate to them. So overall, this program guarantees quality continuing education with high-tech record-keeping process, very cost-effective. And tell me about the courses that are available. If some of our licensees want to find out about PACE courses, where do they go?
Well, again, you would look at the FCLB homepage, www.fclb.org, and click on the left column on PACE. And what would come up is course search. And so under that section, as it comes up, you will see that you can search many things like keywords, topics of courses, providers, if you have a particular provider you want to look for, or even format. There are different formats to the courses that are available. And so that gives options that are wide and vast for the licensee to choose from.
Awesome. Now, Dr. Winkler, where do you see the Federation a year from now?
When I look at that, and I have to just even mention that I think in our entire country, the last 10 weeks has overturned our ability to see into the future. And by that, I mean with the COVID crisis. What I can tell you is that the Federation is going to be better a year from now than it is right now. And what I mean by that, and I need to kind of even bring this COVID situation into play here, In the last 10 weeks, our board of directors and our staff have worked tirelessly to bring up-to-date information to our member boards so that they are supported. And in that, we have put together, and sometimes even all night long, put together letters of support and a homepage, a COVID page that we have had information to share from the government and from sister-like healthcare organizations, like what are they doing in regulation, and then also even in between our member boards. And this has been very, very important. And it's done on a, as we said, a technological platform like we're doing right now. The board of directors has made a decision to update our technology in terms of meeting and in terms of information sharing. And that's been very important to communicate at this time. And the one other thing I would need to mention about that is that, as we just talked about PACE, our licensees during the COVID crisis found themselves in a little bit of a crisis of their own. And what I mean by that is that a lot of license renewals were coming due, and licensees still had classes that they needed to take. Some states still require that some or most of their classes are in person. And as we know, when the COVID crisis hit, there was no meeting in person and no classes to be had. So just as an aside, technology and all, our online PACE program fit like a glove to this problem that we didn't anticipate having with the COVID crisis. And so we were very proud that it was able to do that.
It sure has. It sure has. So, speaking of the camaraderie and the work that we put together, one of our most exciting, programs is our district meetings or annual meetings. Now, our fall district meetings are coming up, and I'm going to have our staff put the dates up in the bottom of the screen. But tell me about that. Tell me about, I know as our district meetings are being held in-person meeting right now. We haven't made any changes. But what do you see happening with those meetings coming up in the fall?
Well, as wonderful as the technology that we have available to us has been in terms of connecting over the last couple of months, and as we were unable to meet at our annual meeting because of the COVID crisis, this technology does nothing like meeting in person. The camaraderie, the networking, the getting to know each other, and really having a personal network throughout the country of chiropractic regulators and staff is second to none in our meetings. And so I anticipate, and we're really hoping to meet in person, that we will bring some of what might have occurred at the annual meeting, and then also some of the solutions that have happened during this COVID crisis and our other meeting materials to the district meeting, and then also provide hopefully an electronic link for those people that maybe can't travel, so that everyone can share, as we always have, at those district meetings at a personal level, to continue our charge of public protection.
Absolutely, and I agree with you that personal networking, the camaraderie that happens during district meetings or annual meetings, there's nothing that can replace that. We'll be prepared to have the technology platforms, but we're all looking forward to getting together in person. There's no questions about it. I know what we've done definitely in the past 10 weeks or the past year, we've taken FCLB out of the 1960s, we're brought it into current times, and we look forward to keep innovating and keep using that technology to move the Federation forward. Everything that we do is about public health, public safety, and public trust. And we know when we focus our energies and resources on those goals, not only do we get to protect the public, but also the profession moves forward. Dr. Winkler, thank you for joining us, and God bless.
God bless, and thank you so much for having me.